single dad fixed a stranger's tire, then a black SUV pulled up behind him. The moment the black SUV's headlights flooded his rearview mirror, Marcus knew his life was about to change forever. But how could he have guessed that a simple act of kindness on a rainy Tuesday would lead to this moment? If you're wondering what happened next, stay with me, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to witness more incredible true stories that remind us how unexpected moments can transform ordinary lives. It had been raining for 3 days straight in Millfield, the kind of relentless downpour that made the world feel smaller, grayer, and infinitely more difficult to navigate. For Marcus Jenkins, a 38-year-old electrician and single father of 2, the rain was just another obstacle in a life already filled with them. That morning had started like any other, the chaotic symphony of alarm clocks, cereal bowls, and backpack zippers that defined his existence since Diane had left 3 years ago. His daughter Emma, 12 and already showing signs of her mother's sharp wit, had forgotten her science project until the last minute. His son Jaden, 8 and perpetually distracted, couldn't find his left shoe until Marcus discovered it in the refrigerator, a mystery neither of them could explain. "Dad, we're going to be late again," Emma said, her voice carrying that edge of preteen exasperation that had become increasingly common. "5 minutes, Em." "I promise," Marcus replied, fishing the soggy shoe from behind the milk carton. "Jay, buddy, we really need to talk about this shoe situation." Jaden shrugged, his freckled face the picture of innocence. "I was getting ice cream and then the phone rang and then I forgot." Marcus sighed, ruffling his son's unruly hair. "Fair enough. Happens to the best of us." By some miracle, he managed to drop both kids off at school with 2 minutes to spare before the bell. As he pulled away from the curb, he allowed himself a moment of pride. Small victories, that's what his life had become about. Making it through each day, keeping his children fed, clothed, and reasonably happy while working enough hours to keep the lights on and the mortgage paid. The rain intensified as he headed toward his first job of the day, a rewiring project at an office building downtown. The windshield wipers struggled against the deluge, and Marcus leaned forward, squinting to see through the gray curtain of water. That's when he noticed the car on the shoulder of the road, a small blue sedan with hazard lights blinking weakly through the rain. He almost drove past. He was already cutting it close for his appointment, and stopping would definitely make him late. The client was important, a potential source of steady work for months to come. But something made him slow down, perhaps the sight of the figure standing helplessly beside the car, shoulders hunched against the downpour. Marcus pulled over about 20 feet ahead of the stranded vehicle and grabbed his rain jacket from the passenger seat. As he stepped out into the rain, he immediately regretted his decision. The water soaked through his work boots within seconds, and the wind drove the rain sideways into his face despite the hood of his jacket. "Need some help?" he called out, approaching the car. The figure turned, a woman in her 60s, completely drenched, her gray hair plastered to her face. "Oh, thank goodness," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I've got a flat, and my phone died. I've been standing here for almost an hour." Marcus nodded, already kneeling to examine the tire. The front passenger side was completely deflated, the rubber splayed out against the wet asphalt. "I can change this for you, ma'am. Do you have a spare?" "In the trunk, I think. My husband always handled these things, but he passed last year." Her voice caught on the last words. "I'm sorry to hear that," Marcus said, genuinely. "Why don't you sit in my truck where it's dry? I'll have this fixed in no time." The woman, who introduced herself as Helen Abernathy, gratefully accepted his offer, and Marcus set to work in the pouring rain. The lug nuts were rusted and difficult to loosen, and the spare tire looked like it hadn't been checked in years, but he managed. 20 minutes later, soaked to the bone and covered in mud, he closed Helen's trunk and knocked on his truck window. "All set, Mrs. Abernathy. The spare's on, but you should get to a tire shop as soon as possible. It's pretty old." Helen stepped out, clutching her purse. "How much do I owe you, young man?" Marcus shook his head. Nothing at all. Just glad I could help. Nonsense, she insisted, already opening her wallet. You're soaking wet and probably late for something important. Please, let me pay you for your time. Really, it's fine, Marcus said, backing toward his truck. Maybe just pay it forward someday. Helen looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read, something between gratitude and assessment. What's your name? Marcus. Marcus Jenkins. Well, Marcus Jenkins, thank you. There aren't many people who would stop these days. He smiled, already thinking about how he would explain his tardiness to the client. Have a good day, Mrs. Abernathy. Drive safe. As Marcus pulled back onto the road, he glanced at the clock on his dashboard and winced. Almost 40 minutes late now. He reached for his phone to call ahead, but found it dead. He'd forgotten to charge it overnight. Another small failure in a long line of them. The client was understanding but clearly annoyed. Marcus worked through lunch to make up for the late start, his stomach growling in protest as he rewired a section of the building's outdated electrical system. By the time he finished, it was already 3:30, and he had to rush to pick up the kids from their after-school program. Emma was the first to notice his exhaustion as they climbed into the truck. You look terrible, Dad. Thanks, sweetheart. Just what every father wants to hear, he replied with a tired smile. No, seriously. Are you sick? Her concern was genuine, and it warmed him despite his fatigue. Just a long day. Had to change a tire for someone in the rain this morning. Did they pay you? Jaden asked from the back seat, always practical when it came to money. No, buddy. It was just the right thing to do. Emma rolled her eyes. Dad's always doing the right thing, and look where it gets us. The comment stung more than Marcus wanted to admit. He knew his children felt the financial strain of their single-parent household. Emma had stopped asking for new clothes, and Jaden had mentioned more than once that his friends all had the latest gaming system while he was still using the old one his father had found at a garage sale. Sometimes doing the right thing is its own reward, Marcus said, though the words sounded hollow even to his own ears. That evening passed like so many others: homework supervision, a simple dinner of spaghetti and Jared sauce, baths for the kids, and then the nightly ritual of bedtime stories for Jaden and a brief, increasingly rare conversation with Emma before she retreated to her room with her books. After the children were asleep, Marcus sat at the kitchen table with a stack of bills and his checkbook, performing the monthly miracle of stretching too little money to cover too many expenses. The mortgage was due, along with the electric bill, and Emma needed new shoes for her growing feet. Something would have to wait, but what? He was still sitting there, head in his hands, when his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, and he almost didn't answer, assuming it was another bill collector. But professional habit won out. It could be a potential client. Hello? Is this Marcus Jenkins? The voice was male, deep, and unfamiliar. Yes, it is. Who's calling? My name is Robert Abernathy. I believe you helped my mother-in-law change a tire this morning. Marcus straightened in his chair. Yes, sir. Is everything all right? Did the spare hold up? It did, thank you. Helen is safely home now. She told me what you did, and I'd like to thank you properly. Would you be available to meet tomorrow? The request seemed odd, but Marcus couldn't see any harm in it. I suppose so. I have jobs scheduled until about 4 o'clock. Perfect. There's a coffee shop called Brewster's on Main Street. Could you meet me there at 4:30? Sure, I can do that. Excellent. I'll see you then, Mr. Jenkins. And thank you again for your kindness to Helen. The call ended, leaving Marcus puzzled but intrigued. He finished his budgeting, deciding the electric company could wait another week, and went to bed, too tired to wonder much more about the mysterious Mr. Abernathy. The next day was marginally better. The rain had stopped, His jobs went smoothly, and he even managed to finish early enough to stop at home and change into a clean shirt before heading to Brewster's. He wasn't sure why he felt the need to make a good impression, but something about Robert Abernathy's voice had conveyed authority and importance. Brewster's was half full when he arrived, the after-work crowd nursing lattes and tapping on laptops. Marcus ordered a simple black coffee and found a table near the window, watching the door for someone who might be looking for him. At precisely 4:30, a tall man in an impeccably tailored suit entered the coffee shop. He was in his late 60s, with silver hair and the confident bearing of someone accustomed to being in charge. His eyes scanned the room before landing on Marcus, and he approached with an outstretched hand. "Mr. Jenkins?" "Robert Abernathy." Marcus stood, suddenly aware of his worn jeans and the small hole near the collar of his shirt. "Nice to meet you, sir. Please, call me Robert." He sat down across from Marcus, placing a leather briefcase on the chair beside him. "Can I get you another coffee?" "I'm fine, thank you." Robert nodded, studying Marcus with interest. "Helen told me what you did yesterday. Not many people would stop in that kind of weather, especially when they had somewhere to be." Marcus shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. "It wasn't a big deal. Anyone would have done the same." "That's where you're wrong," Robert said, leaning forward slightly. "Most people wouldn't have stopped. They'd have driven by, telling themselves someone else would help, or that they were too busy, or that it might be dangerous. But you stopped. Like I said, it wasn't. Helen also told me you refused payment," Robert continued, cutting him off gently. "And that you were soaking wet and clearly going to be late for something, but you took the time to make sure she was safe before leaving." Marcus shifted in his seat. "Mr. Abernathy, Robert, I appreciate the thanks, but it really wasn't anything special. It was to Helen. And to me." Robert opened his briefcase and removed a folder. "I did some checking on you, Marcus. Hope you don't mind." The statement was so unexpected that Marcus could only stare. "You did what?" "Nothing invasive, I assure you. Just some basic information. You're an electrician, self-employed for the past 5 years. Single father of 2 children. Ex-wife moved to California 3 years ago. You coach Little League in the spring despite your busy schedule. You're behind on your mortgage by 1 payment, and your truck needs a new transmission soon." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "How do you know all that?" Robert smiled, but it was kind rather than threatening. "I used to be in banking. I still have connections. But more importantly, I'm a good judge of character, and I've been looking for someone like you." "Someone like me for what?" "I own several properties in the area, apartment buildings, mostly, but also some commercial spaces. I need a reliable electrician on staff, someone who can handle regular maintenance and emergency calls. The position comes with a company vehicle, full benefits, and a salary that's significantly better than what you're making now with your independent contracting." Marcus blinked, certain he had misheard. "You're offering me a job? Because I changed a tire?" "I'm offering you a job because you're exactly the kind of person I want working for me. Skilled, reliable, and with a moral compass that points true north." Robert slid the folder across the table. "All the details are in here. Take it home, look it over, and let me know what you think." Marcus opened the folder, his eyes widening at the salary figure on the first page. It was nearly double what he currently made in a good year. "This is very generous. It's market rate for someone with your experience and the responsibilities I'd be asking you to take on," Robert said matter-of-factly. "There's also information about the health insurance, retirement plan, and paid time off. I believe in taking care of my employees, Marcus. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. That's all I ask." Robert stood, extending his hand again. "Call me when you've made a decision. My number is in the folder." Marcus rose to shake his hand, still stunned. Thank you. I will. As Robert turned to leave, he paused. Oh, and Marcus? Helen asked me to give you this. He reached into his pocket and handed over a small envelope. Have a good evening. Marcus watched him leave, then slowly sat back down, the folder and envelope in his hands, feeling somehow unreal. He opened the envelope first, finding a handwritten note on pale blue stationery. Dear Marcus, it read in elegant script, thank you again for your kindness yesterday. After losing my Harold, I sometimes feel invisible to the world. Your simple act of decency reminded me that good people still exist. Please accept the enclosed as a token of my gratitude. With warmest regards, Helen Abernathy. Beneath the note was a check for $1,000. Marcus stared at it, his vision blurring slightly. It was enough to catch up on the mortgage and buy Emma those shoes she needed. It was enough to breathe, just for a moment. He carefully tucked both the check and the job offer into his jacket pocket and stepped out into the fading afternoon light. As he walked to his truck, he felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time, hope, fragile but persistent, like a small flame protected from the wind. That evening, after the kids were in bed, Marcus sat at the kitchen table again, this time with Robert's folder open before him. The terms of the job offer were even better than he'd initially realized. The health insurance would cover Emma's asthma medication that had been stretching his budget to the breaking point. The regular hours meant he could be home for dinner with his children every night. The company vehicle would solve the problem of his aging truck. He picked up his phone and dialed the number in the folder. Abernathy, Robert answered on the second ring. Mr. Abernathy, it's Marcus Jenkins. I've looked over your offer, and I'd like to accept. Excellent news, Marcus. Can you start Monday? Yes, sir. I have a couple of jobs to wrap up, but I can start Monday. Perfect. Come to the address on page 3 at 8 a.m. We'll handle the paperwork and get you set up. There was a pause, then Robert added, You've made a good decision, Marcus. I think this will work out well for both of us. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. No, thank you for stopping to help an old woman in the rain. Sometimes the smallest actions reveal the most about a person's character. After they hung up, Marcus sat for a long time, thinking about the strange turn his life had taken. One simple act of kindness, one decision to be late rather than drive past someone in need, had somehow led to this moment. The next morning, he told the children about the new job over breakfast. Emma's initial skepticism gave way to excitement when he mentioned the health insurance and the fact that he'd be home every evening. Does this mean we can have dinner together? Like, at the table, not in front of the TV because you're too tired to talk, she asked. That's exactly what it means, Marcus promised. And maybe we can start doing movie nights again on Fridays. Jaden bounced in his seat. Can we get a dog now? You always said we couldn't because you work too much. Marcus laughed. Let's take one change at a time, buddy. But maybe, once we're settled into the new routine. That weekend, they celebrated. Marcus used a small portion of Helen's check to take the kids out for pizza and ice cream, something they hadn't done in months. As they sat in the booth, Emma and Jaden arguing good-naturedly about toppings, Marcus felt a contentment he'd almost forgotten was possible. Monday morning arrived with a nervous energy that reminded Marcus of his first day of school. He dressed in his best work clothes, clean jeans without holes and a button-down shirt he usually reserved for parent-teacher conferences. The address Robert had provided led to a modern office building on the edge of town, with Abernathy Properties displayed in understated letters above the entrance. The receptionist greeted him by name and directed him to Robert's office, where the older man was waiting with paperwork and a set of keys. The blue Ford Explorer.